My name is James Barnes. I'm from Healthcare for the Homeless. I'm on the Consumer Relations Committee. Remember, I'm co-chair of the Consumer Relations Committee. We want to thank y'all for coming by today on the Homeless Person Memorial Day service. I'll be here. I've been doing this for like a couple years now as co-chair, as a speaker, and it's a real honor to be here today. And I hope y'all enjoyed the service today. And we've already, the first person I would like to call up is Mark Council.
Good evening, honorable guests, friends, family, brothers and sisters. My name is Mark Towson. I'm on the board of directors of the Healthcare for the Homeless. And we came out here to pay tribute to our honorable brothers and sisters who have sometimes succeed in housing. These names that's in back of me, they're not failed people. They're not failed names that didn't succeed in housing. But they was homeless at one point in time. That's the common denominator that they had among themselves. They was homeless. Some may have got housing, some may not did. But we out here to pay honor to them. And with respect, and with dignity. There has no been, they don't do no more suffering now. They have peace with themselves. They have peace. They have their homes. They have their homes. There's no more suffering for these people now. They out there in a better place. Again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming. Again, like James Barnes said, please keep the masses up. This COVID is out here, and we'd like to keep everybody safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Next, I'd like to introduce the invocation by Chaplain Eddie Martin Jr. from the Healthcare for the Homeless, Senior Director of Equality and Engagement. It's Eddie Martin.
Thanks, James. Good evening, everyone. I think we all heard Mark's message while we're out here tonight to commemorate individuals who passed this past year, something that we definitely need to not only mitigate, but put an end to. And so what I want to do now is ask you just to just pause for a moment of silence. And during this moment of silence, I just want you to close your eyes and just imagine, if you can, what it's like to be in the shoes of someone who is housing insecure, someone with lived experience. Think about what it means to not have access to the typical things that we maybe take for granted every day. What is our role? What is our responsibility to contribute and to help to mitigate the situation for those who are most in need? What is our individual responsibility? What's our institutional responsibility? What is our responsibility as a city? So I ask you just to pause in a moment of silence. Then after that, I'll put up a brief prayer. All right, now I'm going to pray in my tradition. And I ask you to bow your heads and pray in what tradition that you would like as we bow our heads and ask for a sense of thankfulness, but also ask for the opportunity and the need to address something that's very dear to our hearts. Lord, I thank you for this wonderful evening. I thank you for this day. I thank you for the cold. I thank you for the opportunity for us to come together as a community. I wish that we didn't have to come together into such a commemoration or memorialize those individuals who have passed. Over 160 individuals in the last year, those with lived experience, those without a home, who have passed. Those individuals who should not have had to deal with such a situation, Lord. We thank you for being you. We thank you for giving us the privilege and the responsibility to address the issues that are at hand, Lord. We ask you to please give us the strength, the courage, the know-how, the desire, the encouragement, but even the rebuke to do what we need to not only mitigate and prevent, but also to end homelessness. Help us to be those individuals who are part of a city on a hill. Let our light shine for all to see, but in a way that we are also not serving our own needs, but serving the interests of others. Guide us and help us just to pause in the busyness of this season to think about the reason why we're here, the reason why we're put here on this earth, to be able to love one another and to be loved and to be community. Be with us, help us, always remind us of what our task is every day, to serve others and to draw closer to you. Help us to operate with love, a sense of justice, a firm spirit as we move forward every day. Help us not to neglect those who are in need. Help us not to walk by individuals as if they are indivisible. Lord, help us to see people. Help us to know people. Help us to understand that people deserve everything that they desire, that will give them a sense of purpose. Guide us. Help us be empathetic. Help us be loving. And help us to put an end to something that's atrocious. We love you. We appreciate you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Next, we would like to do the proclamation.
Good evening. I am Irene Augustin. I'm the director at the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. And I'm here on behalf of Mayor Brandon Scott to read the proclamation. He sends his regrets, and unfortunately, he is not able to make it tonight, but wanted to send you his regards. On behalf of Mayor Scott and the City of Baltimore, I present this proclamation, whereas December 21st marks the first day of winter and the longest night of the year. And communities across the country have chosen this day to remember men and women who have died without a place to call home. And whereas safe, decent, and affordable housing has become increasingly inaccessible due to increasing costs, rising inequality, inadequate incomes, and the decline of affordable units. And whereas people experiencing homelessness have higher rates of chronic diseases, are more susceptible to illness and injury, and are more likely to die prematurely than those with housing options. And whereas the City of Baltimore joins Healthcare for the Homeless and communities nationwide to remember our neighbors without homes who have died this year without a secure place to live, and to recognize that every member of society should have the right to quality, safe, affordable housing. Therefore, Mayor Brandon M. Scott, Mayor of the City of Baltimore, does hereby proclaim December 21st, 2021 as Homeless Persons Memorial Day in Baltimore and encourage all residents to join in this observance. Thank you.
Next, Mr. Carl Berkeley from Healthcare for the Homeless. He's going to give a word of remembrance. My mistake, Memorial Liberty is next.
Good evening. My name is Richard Mayo. I'm with the Consumer Relations Committee and the Continuum of Care. So that in death is the great equalizer. That no matter the poor or how wealthy you were in life, death is the equalizer. But we should seek that equality in life to understand that there's certain issues that affect whether it's people that are housed or millionaires and billionaires, but homeless people are affected disproportionately by certain matters, and certain things are within our control, that it's a shame that people actually die while experiencing homelessness. So this year's theme is about angels. So while we lost them here on earth, we know and we pray that they transitioned into a better place, because there is no homelessness in the second phase of our existence. So I shall read some of these names, and pardon me because it's very personal for me because I know some of these guys. And so Dominic Aiello, Gary Anderson, Max Annenberg, Alan Ankick, Deshaun Armstrong, Howard Armstrong, Doris Austin, Paul A., Donald Bain, Joseph Orlando Bell, James Block, Amira Bonds, Denise Marie Bowman, Andrew Scott Bradford, William Bradley, Mariah Bregoff, thank you, Donald Francis Briscoe, Shade Broton, Arnetta Brown, Paul Brown, William Broback, Dominic Bucci, Diane Bush, Joseph Leroy Butler III, Ricky Maurice Butler, Charles Callahan, Edward Kahn Jr., Sanaya Shobanian, Bernard Cole, Cynthia Collins, Robert Cook, Rochelle Cook, and Kenneth Croxton. Let's all keep them in our prayers.
So continuing with some of the people we've lost, I would like to add David Cunningham, Sheila Diane Curran, Francis Renald DeMay, Gary Dubowski, Joseph T. Dowell, Randall Edison, Ronald Eldridge, Aaron L. Fisher, Kevin Lamont Fisher, Tyrone Anthony Fitzgerald, Michael Edward Foote, Angela Carolyn Forbes, James Francis Jr., Danny Friedman, Corey Lee Fry, Brian Paul Gallagher, Dwight Dingles, Colette Goggins, Alicia Good, Trevor Lamont Go, Lita Graham, Matthew Grantham, Annette Gray, Jimmy Green, Mark Griffin, Jose Manuel Guerrero Delgado, Geralda Ham, James Hardy, Albert Lee Harris, Melinda Harris, Albert Harris, Alan Walter Howard, Lyle Anthony Hawkins.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eugene Pinckney. I'm the Vice President of the Homeless Union, representing ACH also. I have some other names. Casey Helseman, Travis James Helsley, Travis Helsley, William Benjamin Herring, and Michael Hicks, Dolores Hempley, Janie Hellman, Lisa Melanie Holmes, Kevin Holmes, Timothy David Helm. Okay. All right. And then William Edward Hunston Jr., Candace Jackson, Ron Cornelius Johnson, Malik Jones, Michelle Jones, Raphael Philip Jones, Alan Jones, James Jones, okay, sorry, thank you. All right, Charles Wesley Kelly, Chrisley, all right, Sue Kim, James Kendall Jr., Calvert Lamont King, and Gary Lane, Kim Lane, Mildred Lasita, Solomon Lamont, David Long, and Johnny Long, Charles Levert, Wilbert Leverly, Joseph Lee Lynch, and June Lynch, and Janice Corinne Mack.
Plus honor Doug Madison, Stephen Paul Bliski, Daniel Martin, Christine Martin, Kathleen McKelsby, Crystal McCoy, Donald Ray McGee, Charlene McKinnon, Tony Ray McMillan, William Miller, Anthony Thomas Mitchell, Abraham Moore, Michael Moore, Mona Neal, Henry Glenn Nestler Jr., Timothy Richard Oram, Vance Peck, Tyrone Payne. Devil trying to be busy, but he ain't not busier than I am. Let's bless Christopher Robin Pence, Charles Francis Pillington, Aaron D. Andre Ferrata, Thomas Lane Purser, Brandon Rathwood, Stephen Ritz Sr., Kevin Raleigh, Melissa Rodriguez, Delroy Roosevelt, Garcia Jose Sanchez, Michelle Sawyer, Erin Elizabeth Schott, John Sheets, Jamie Schiffer, and Brian Leslie Shue Jr. Let the Lord add a blessing to the reading of this names.
Thank you, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
And I have the, I guess you can say honor, of lifting this last list of names. Charles Simmons, Matthew J. Sensel, Reginald Smith, Marlene Smith, Ricky Bernard Smoot, Craig Stephen Spencer, Phyllis Sporl, Glenn Sporl, Deborah Stebbins, Daniel Storm, Barry Joseph Sullivan, Octavia Talbert, Daryl K. Thomas, Lamont Thompson, William Titus, Melvin Cleveland Truesdale Jr., Chadwick Andrew Turner, Elias Vasquez, Lynn Vickers, Curtis Wallace Walker, James Watson, Clarence Wack, Kyle Landon Wetzel, Patricia White, John Williams, Matthew Wilson, Linda Lee Withrow, Glenn Evan Wooden, Vincent V. Woods, Robert Lewis Wright, Hafiz Abakir Mohammed Yagub, and Kevin Yarbrough. Thank you. Hopefully next year we won't have to read any names.
I'd just like to thank everybody that read the names. You know, you got their wonderful job, you know, and we would like to honor each one of them. This is why we're here, to honor these people. And so we may move on. So, word of remembrance from Mr. Carl Berkeley, health care for the home.
Thank you. This is a very humbling experience. The last 2 years was hard for not only my clients, but all those that are homeless. Pandemic, a tough election season that not only separated people from voting, but separated many families, separated a lot of ideologies and beliefs, a tough economic situation, social challenges, but through it all, our clients remain resilient. Those who have fallen, who we remember right now, remain resilient. The definition of resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties and toughness. To see the resilience in our clients and those that fall, we have to gain understanding and acceptance of their strengths and the choices that they made. The hard part of my job as a therapist and a case manager is that part when they pass on or when they die. That's the hardest part of my job. But as a therapist and a case manager, I acknowledge and I see the strength, the passion, the challenges, the intelligence, the impact of the systems, and the impact of the economy that affects each one of our people. And while acknowledging all that, looking at them achieve so many different goals. My client that passed away, Mr. Gregory, he was homeless when I met him, living on the street, and he was alienated from his family. He had challenges with his income, but he was resilient to the end. He was able to get a housing voucher. He was able to deal with his sobriety on his own terms. He connected with his family that he's been estranged from for decades. He used his family as a support system. In the end, he gained housing and he was resilient. And that's how I remember him. That's how I remember each one of these people. And that's how I remember, and that's how I deal with any person I ever come in contact with, is resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk. Now we'll have another word of remembrance from Mr. Eddie Martin.
So I actually have the honor to present some words from April Ferguson, who was a therapist case manager at Healthcare for the Homeless. I'll tell you a quick backstory about this. So unfortunately, April was not able to be here. She was asking if someone would be able to present her words. Not knowing what she would be presenting, I volunteered to do so. And then I happened to read about her clients, or the client that she's representing, she's worked with the mindful of language. And so this client and I have a lot in common. I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and I'm about to tell you the story of Matthew Grantham, who is also from Alabama, through the lens and the voice of April Ferguson. So it reads, Matthew Grantham was a delight to work with. He was always in a positive and polite mood. Matthew was independent, hardworking, and very organized. Matthew was also a veteran and served his country by completing tours overseas. Matthew was from Alabama, and he moved to a much colder Baltimore a few years ago. During his time in Baltimore, Matthew struggled with homelessness. However, Matthew was housed this year, and he obtained his first apartment in the city. Matthew was enthusiastic to select his own place and move in as soon as possible. He picked out his furniture and color coordinated his house to match his style. Matthew's interests were video games and Harley-Davidson motorcycles. But what I remember most about Matthew's interest was his love for college football. Yes, I'm trying to not get teary out of here. We were both fans of huge football schools, and we talked about this upcoming season. Matthew's favorite team was the University of Alabama Crimson Tide. We share that in common. He was lucky to watch his team win 6 national titles in a little over 10 years, hopefully 7 this year. I added that, I'm sorry. Although he was a fan of my rival team, we could talk about recruiting, successful coaches, and the players who gave their all on the field. Matthew looked forward to each season, and he wore his Alabama football paraphernalia proudly. Matthew's untimely death was a shock to the Healthcare from the Home staff that saddened many. Matthew was survived by his siblings, or is survived by his siblings and mother. His family arranged for Matthew's return to Alabama for his memorial and funeral service. Although Matthew won't see the end of this football season, I've kept track of Alabama football. His team, or our team, is on the path to win another national title, and I feel comforted in knowing how happy he would be. A quote from former Alabama coach Bear Bryant. If you want to walk the heavenly streets of gold, you got to know the password, roll, tide, roll. This is from April Ferguson, Healthcare for the Homeless Therapist Case Manager. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Betty. Now, we'll have artistic expression from Mr. Martin Williams.
I mean, give honor to a fallen soldier. Triple five.
Hoorah!
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
All right.
How's everybody doing? All right, we're here. And we want the world, we want the city to know that we are here. And we're bringing our voices for the people here in this space. Because I was talking to Bill, and he said, we shouldn't be here. None of us should have to be here right now in this moment at this particular time to go over what we've been fighting for a very long time. That's right, one of the richest cities, one of the richest states in this country. I'm gonna do a piece that I wrote entitled Too Many Names. Bear with me, the font is a little smaller than I thought it was coming out here, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna make this happen because we are here and we want them to know that we're here. We hear you. We feel you. We call out your name for strength and power to keep your death from being in vain. These angels among us will guide our principles towards ending the pain that the traumatic events of homelessness so often brings. Power to the people, we scream from the top of our lungs for all to hear. Tonight's memorial should shake the foundation infinite fear into the mind-numbing dribble this evil society spews into this atmosphere. We fight. For those whose names we see underneath the starlit night, we fight for the right, for their plight in the longest night of the year. We hold these names to bear the shame of those behind political doors who choose to look past their pain. Our brothers and sisters sleeping on steam grates in the rain, falling susceptible to disease that cause physical and mental strain. No more. We stand here tonight to mourn the senseless death that has been put to rest and send threats to those who attempt to hide your names behind political BS slang and not change. We hear your calls from beyond the grave. That the numbers we heard tonight would not have died in vain. We pay homage to those. Many of you that society took advantage of. We stand here tonight and say no more. No more closed doors to those individuals who find themselves sleeping on Mother Nature's floor while politicians play life and death chess behind closed doors. We scream their names to force those walking past to acknowledge the pain, stir up a fight against the senseless death and strain of individuals living on street corners and shelters and bandos on nightly rides on trains, leading to harassment from police who cripple their names through missed court appearances, leading to warrants having many bound in chains. We don't give a damn how loud we be, because the truth has to be spoken. So let that names echo across the harbor waters so that many minds will be open to the plight of our brothers and sisters who too often feel hopeless. We have to stand with no fear because our brothers and sisters are dying out here. And this can't continue to be in this so-called home of the brave and land of the free. Not really. You see, we called out too many names tonight. We must fight the powers that makes this night a normalcy. For our neighbors whose society attempts to strip of their humanity, we fight alongside you for the well-being of us all, because if one of us is held in homeless captivity, then none of us are free at all. So the battle moves forward. And let our voices echo through Baltimore City streets and shake the foundation that attempts to not allow this to cease. We hear you. We feel you. We call out your names for strength and power to keep your deaths from being in vain. These angels among us will guide our principles towards ending the pain that the traumatic events of homelessness so often bring. Thank you.
Give her a hand, give her a hand. next we will have another message from Mr. Irene.
Good evening, and I want to just say a few words. I'll be honest that this time of year is a struggle for me to come up with the words to really talk about those that have died, especially those that have died homeless. It doesn't need to be this way. I hope next year we don't have to say this list, but I know it's something that we're going to have to address, and we're going to have to address it together. Well, death is a natural part of life. The difference for people that are experiencing homelessness is that they don't have a home. And that doesn't need to be how it is in society and in the city of Baltimore. Housing is a right. Housing isn't something for some people to have and for some people not to have. And it should be something that we should fight for as a community and as one that really supports all of those living in our community, not just the ones that have means, but those that are really just struggling in life. And so we need to fight for that as a community. With my work in ending homelessness and my work as a social worker, I believe that we need to provide that opportunity for everyone. And I will continue to fight for that in my position at the city of Baltimore. But more importantly, we all play a role in ending homelessness. And while we remember those that have fallen and those that have passed away, we also have to remember those that are living with homelessness right now. And we as a community just have to do better so that no one else has to experience that. And it's going to take every single one of us to work towards ending homelessness. And so my hope is, as we work towards the future, and as we work to help those experiencing homelessness, that we prioritize housing, that we prioritize safe and affordable housing, that we prioritize those that are struggling with homelessness and with the issues of crisis every single day, that we come together as a community to be there for one another and to make sure that we all thrive together. And so that we don't have to read these names every single year, but that we grow as a community and we remain strong as one. December 21st, while we are remembering those, we also have to remember this is the longest night of the year. It is a cold night. There are people there that are out on the street, and that we just have to do better as a community. And so for us, let's remember those that have passed away, but we still have to continue this fight. We still have to continue to make sure that we have opportunity for everyone and that we work together as neighbors to support one another. And so thank you, Healthcare for the Homeless, for giving me the opportunity to speak. But this should be our resolve to rise together as a community so that we don't have to have this commemoration every single year, that we're working with one another towards prosperity as a community and to support one another, because that's what a strong community does for one another. Thank you.
Sorry. Now for the reflection and call to action, the President and CEO of Healthcare for the Homeless, Kevin Lennon.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Here's a poem by Maya Angelou entitled Touched by an Angel. We, unaccustomed to courage, exiles from delight, live coiled in shells of loneliness, until love leaves its high holy temple and comes into our sight to liberate us into life. Love arrives, and in its train comes ecstasies, old memories of pleasure, ancient histories of pain. Yet, if we are bold, love strikes away the chains of fear from our souls. We are weaned from our timidity in the flush of love's light. We dare be brave, and suddenly we see that love costs all we are and will ever be, yet it is only love which sets us free. Angels among us. That's the theme of this year's Homeless Persons Memorial Day. And there are too many angels among us tonight. We speak a lot of angels as a society in both religious and in secular ways. We utter the word often in response to kindness. Oh, thank you, you're such an angel. Or to hint at a less than angelic demeanor. Well, let me tell you, he's no angel. We speak of fallen angels. Poets and politicians routinely summon the better angels of our nature. Sometimes angels act as guides between another realm and this one. They watch over, they guard, they protect. Consider the names printed here, read aloud tonight. These friends and strangers and neighbors who died of homelessness. I know that some of them are speaking to some of us. What are they saying? Sometimes angels are messengers, inspiring awe, heralding better days to come. Many faith traditions associated with this Christmas season feature an angel as messenger, right? Bringing good tidings of great joy for all people. What messages are the angels among us delivering to you tonight? Occasionally, our mythology and our stories, angels strike fear and vengeance. And sometimes I think we'd all do well as a society to be visited by vengeful angels. This richest nation in the history of history, whose racism and misguided origin story of rugged independence produce an unsustainable gap between the have-a-lots and the have-nothings, who hungry and cold and homeless die on our streets. This divided nation that doesn't guarantee access to healthcare, that disinvests in affordable housing, that can't even seem to get its act together enough to provide the most basic and modest financial assistance to people struggling 2 years into a devastating pandemic. Sometimes angels bring vengeance. What is our response to it? There are too many angels among us tonight, but let's be mindful about how much time we think spending about angels. How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? Have you heard that question? That's a question that first appeared in the 17th century, used to deride philosophers and theologians of the Middle Ages who lost themselves in contemplating the hierarchies and metaphysical properties of angels. How many angels can dance on the head of a pin? In common usage, it's become a metaphor for wasting time debating topics of no practical value or questions whose answers hold no intellectual consequence, while more urgent concerns accumulate. Wow. How often do we in our personal and professional lives find ourselves debating topics of no practical value, while more urgent concerns accumulate. How often do we debate and defend limited definitions of homelessness, determining who does and who doesn't get help, while an affordable housing crisis sends more people to shelters and to the streets? How do we, in ways that we live our own daily lives, maintain a status quo that upholds racial inequities that only create and recreate homelessness? We've been here so many times before. Many of us have advocated for the public policies necessary to end homelessness for decades. And here we are again at another damn memorial. We know all too well that homelessness kills. While we rightly seek answers from those in power, let's first ask ourselves what we have the power to answer. The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. reflected this, that power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is love correcting everything that stands against love. Echoing these words of Dr. King, Dr. Cornel West summarizes that justice is what love looks like in public. What does it mean for society to harness this kind of love and power? Individually and collectively, how can we become what love looks like in public? I think Maya Angelou was answering these same questions too, and asking them. We are weaned from our timidity in the flush of love's light. We dare be brave, and suddenly we see that love costs all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free. There are too many angels among us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this ends our Homeless Person Memorial Day commemoration. We want to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening. We want you to just take the time this evening and over this holiday season to reflect upon those who we've lost, to celebrate who they are, celebrate the angels, but also understand the amount of work that we need to do. Let's think about the words of all of our speakers. Let's think about the names that we heard tonight. Let's uplift them. And as you go in peace tonight, let us remember our responsibility. Thank you. One last thing I will say is that for those who are with lived experience, over under this tent, this white tent, there are a number of different kits, a number of different hats, a number of different blankets. Feel free to take what you need. We appreciate you. We love you. Everyone, have a great night. Get home safely. We've got work to do. Thanks.
All right.